This is a ROM chip. Have you seen this? Please, have you seen this? This is called a ROM chip. It is a storage device, but it cannot be removed. It is a permanent storage device fixed directly onto the motherboard. Alright, so welcome back to class. We are still studying computer hardware and we want to continue with our lesson. Today we want to talk more about the motherboard, and if there is time we'll move on to the CPU and other components. Before I begin, I want to explain the difference between the types of system units we have, or the types of cases we have. We have the desktop and we have the tower. So let me just show you an actual picture and explain it to you. So now we all know desktop computers, right? And the last time we learned about the definition of desktop computers. Now when we call a computer a desktop, it means a computer was designed to be used on a desk. That is why it's called a desktop, right? We also have laptop computers, and we call them laptops because they were designed to be used on the what? On the laps. Do you have a lap? If you have a lap, that computer was designed to be used on your lap. At first, we had some computers we call palm top. I don't know if you've heard of palm top. And those computers were designed to be used where? In your palm. Then we obviously have our smartphones and tablets. Now, when we say desktop, it means it is on a desk or used on a desk. And usually our desktop computers have separate system units or cases, and they come with separate monitors, keyboard, mouse, right? Alright, so the set is called a desktop. When we talk about a desktop, we are not talking about just the monitor. We are talking about the computer set, the entire system. So when you on it, you can use it on a desk. Now, apart from that, whenever we mention desktop with regards to the case, these cases are designed in two styles, and the two styles are given names. The flat style, there are some cases they are flat like this. I believe you've seen something like this before. Usually the flat ones, the monitors are placed on top of the cases and they are used. At first we had a lot of computers like that. The system unit was flat and you put the monitor on it, or you just find a good place to put your monitor, but we have the flat ones. Now these flat horizontal system unit like this is called desktop system unit. Here I'm not talking about desktop computer in general. I'm talking about system unit or the case. When you are referring to the case or the system unit, the flat one is called desktop. And we have some that are long like this that usually put under the table. They are vertical like this, and you have your buttons in front here. Have you seen cases like this before? Okay, all the ones here are like that, right? Most of them are vertical like this. The vertical ones are called tower. Tower. So when we say tower system unit or tower case, we are talking about the vertical case. When we talk about the flat case, we call them desktop. So in computing, when you hear desktop, desktop could mean the flat case, number one. Number two, desktop could mean the entire computer system on a desk or used on a desk. Number two. Now number three, desktop can also mean the background of your screen. When you on your computer, they can tell you to go to the desktop of your computer, and that is referring to your background. So for example, let me go to the desktop on my computer here. Watch this. This is my desktop. Have you seen the desktop? This is my desktop. Please, have you seen it? So I'm on the desktop. On the desktop, you find all your icons. You find your background. Usually we use background pictures and other things. I am not using a background picture. I'm using a background color. So sometimes we have background pictures, sometimes we have slideshows and interesting wallpapers. You understand? But over here, I am using a color as my desktop. So in computing, when we talk about desktop, there are three things you can call desktop. Either we are talking about your background, or we are talking about the computer system on a desk, or we are talking about the case. We have the desktop case and we have this case called what? The tower case. Is that okay? Excellent. That's what I wanted to explain first before we talk about the motherboard. So in our previous lesson, we started talking about the computer motherboard and we discussed a number of things. The first question I'm going to ask you is for you to tell me the function of the motherboard, or the functions of the motherboard, because we learned that the motherboard can do a number of things. And I also ask you to tell me some of the subcomponents on the motherboard that we discussed before. So my question to the class right now, who can tell me the functions of the motherboard? Excellent. So your motherboard, what you are seeing here is, first of all, the connection point for all hardware components of the computer system. What that means is that everything that will ever be connected to a computer system will be connected to the motherboard. Whatever is connected to the computer must be connected to the motherboard. So you see the motherboard like this as a circuit board. It is inside a case. It has the I/O ports. These ports are called input-output ports, or I/O ports, that appears outside the case through some spaces or holes provided. Then it has several slots and ports and other connectors on top of it, which receives connections within the case. Now, if you will check computers very well, you will realize that every single hardware is connected to this board. There is no hardware that is not connected to this board. Every single hardware. Talk about your keyboard. Do you think your keyboard is connected to the motherboard? How is your keyboard connected to the motherboard? It's connected through the USB ports you see here. This USB port will appear at the back of the system unit. So you may not know that you are connecting to the motherboard, but you are connecting to the motherboard. Your monitor is connected to the motherboard through the VGA port here. This is a port that appears behind the system unit. You connect your cable to this port. When we talk about your expansion cards are connected to the expansion slots. We talk about your RAM. Your RAM is connected here. Your CPU is connected here. We talk about your hard drive. Your hard drives are connected through this port we'll be talking about here. They are called SATA ports. SATA ports. We'll be talking about them. Or SATA connectors. The older IDE data cable. This is the ID data cable I was talking about the last time. This ID data cable is connected here. This, can you see? I'm not talking about power cable, I'm talking about data cable. It's connected here. And this part is connected to the IDE hard drive. Can you see? This is how we used to connect IDE. Today we don't use IDE anymore. IDE is out of the system. It's really out. Today, which one do we use? 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 SATA. We use SATA. We use SATA for our connections. We use what? SATA. I didn't say shatter. I said SATA. And the SATA, this is how the SATA data cable looks like. With the SATA data cable, you connect to your hard drive or optical drive like this. And this end is connected onto the motherboard. Let me remove this one first. On the SATA connectors here. Please, have you seen this? This cable is so much powerful than this old one. Because we wanted to improve the speed of data transfer from the hard drive onto the motherboard and transfer of data on the computer, we decided to change the technology for data connection, and we introduced the SATA data cable. This is a SATA one. So all hard drives are now SATA hard drives. At first, hard drives were PATA, and we said PATA is the same as IDE. This is a PATA one, and this is a cable we used to use. Around the year 2005, this was so common. This is what everyone used. Today, this is what we are using. Are you with me? And when it comes to power, I told you that we have two types of power connectors, right? Who can tell me the one for the IDE one? It's called the Molex. Excellent. Do you remember the Molex connector? Excellent. And then we also have the one for this, which is what? Which is what? Which is what? The power connector we connect here. I told you that every drive has two connections. One for power, one for data. Did I tell you that? One for power and for data. So the data one goes onto the motherboard. The power one goes onto the power supply unit. Do you remember the power supply unit? Good. So in the power supply unit, which connector is used to connect to this particular drive? This is a power supply unit. This connector is called the what? The 24-pin power connector, or the P1 connector, right? This one is called the P4 or the 4-pin power connector. This one is called, this is a Molex power connector. Please, have you forgotten? If you have forgotten, tell me to stop the class, because I took a long time explaining this thing to you. This is a Molex power connector, and this one is called what? The SATA power connector. So that was the question I was asking. I said, which connector is used to connect to SATA hard drives for power? So we use the SATA power connector. Alright, so it's a SATA that will be connected to your hard drive to provide power. So this is power, this is for data. This is a SATA power cable. This is SATA data cable. I said there are two connections, one for power and one for data. This is a SATA power cable, or the connector, and this is SATA data. This is a cable, that's the connector. So the cable, the tip of the cable is called the connector. So this cable, later we'll be talking about cables. We'll bring several cables, and you are supposed to identify all of them. When they show you this cable, you should say that, oh, this is SATA data cable. When they bring this cable, what is this? Oh, this is IDE data cable. We'll bring you several cables, including USB. You have to say this is USB cable. You need to recognize cables. We'll bring VGA cable. We'll bring power cable. We'll bring Ethernet cable. Several cables, and you are supposed to identify all of them. Please, are you with me? All right, you've done so well. I'm so happy to be teaching you. Today we want to continue with our discussions on the motherboard. And the last time we talked about the CPU socket. Do you remember the CPU socket? The CPU socket, we said the CPU socket houses the CPU. This is a CPU. CPU stands for what? Central Processing Unit, or the microprocessor. And the CPU socket houses the CPU. Remember, the CPU needs to be connected in a very specific way. You can't turn it the wrong way, and to be able to fix the CPU well, you need to study the shape of the CPU, because there will be an indication that tells you how to place it in the this is called what? CPU socket, in the socket. Please, are you with me? Okay, so usually the socket needs to be locked, so we lock it here. Now on top of the CPU, we usually place a big component on top of the CPU. Who knows the name of that component we place on the CPU? What is it called? The heat sink. Please, do you remember heat sink? We'll talk about heat sink. And I'll tell you today, that before we sit the heat sink on the CPU, we apply a paste on the CPU first. There's a paste. When I say paste, it's paste. You apply it on the CPU directly first before you place the heatsink on it. That paste, I'll show you how it looks like. The name is called thermal paste. I didn't say Thelma. You know someone called Thelma? I didn't say Thelma paste. I said thermal. If you did science in SS, anytime we are talking about heat, we use thermal. Anytime we are talking about movement, we use kinetic energy. We have thermal. Thermal stands for heat in science. So there is a paste called thermal paste. That paste needs to be applied on this first. It looks just like toothpaste. Please, do you know toothpaste? Did you brush your teeth this morning? Oh, you didn't? Okay, if you did, the paste you used, it looks just like that, but it's not toothpaste. So don't go and take Pepsodent and put Pepsodent on this thing. Pardon? Please, we don't use Pepsodent. We use thermal paste. Alright, so I'll show you the thermal paste. We apply it here before the heat sink. So let's continue talking about the motherboard first, then we'll bring in all the other components. Now, this particular slot, what is the name of this slot? This is called RAM slot. What do we fix here? RAM. What is RAM? The memory. Okay, so RAM is memory, and RAM stands for what? Random access memory. That's very good. And then we talked about the slots here. We said they are all called what? Expansion slots. The expansion slots are there to be, or to house, or to connect expansion cards. These cards are called expansion cards. If you want to be specific, you talk about the name of the particular card. This particular card is a graphics card. It's a graphics card because the port here tells me that it is graphics, or the ports here are graphics ports, so I know it is graphics we connect here. These ports are all for display. Every port does something. When you see a port like this big one, you know that the port here is for connecting to networks, so you can't say this is for display. So by looking at the ports, you can tell, right? So when you see the ports here, you can tell that these are for display. This one here is very powerful here. It's called HDMI. HDMI is for high quality display. Then there's a DVI port, also for display. Good. So when I see this, I can tell what type of card it is. This is graphics card. So the graphics card, we connect it into the expansion slots. And I told you that the expansion slots can connect many cards. What are some of the cards I talked about the last time? Talked about sound card, network interface card, TV card, graphics card. There are several cards you can connect. You can even connect a wireless network card. And when you connect, your desktop can connect Wi-Fi. Is that okay? All right. So just to recap on that, because I don't want you to forget. I've spent time again. Now, we also talked about the two bridges, and we said they are together called a chipset. And we said the first one here is called the north bridge, and the second one here is called the what? The south bridge. And the north bridge is under this heatsink. This is a small heatsink. Please, you get me? Let me remove this heatsink again. When I remove it, you see that there's some paste here. You see a dried paste. We have some on top here. Anytime a heatsink is applied or a heatsink is somewhere, a paste is applied there first before the heatsink is fixed. So that paste I talked about, what is the name of the paste? Thermal paste. So very soon I'll show you how thermal paste looks like, but it's thermal paste, and every heatsink has some, or we apply it before placing any heatsink. So this is a small heatsink. This is not the main heatsink. Please, are you here? All right. So we said this is the north bridge and this is the south bridge, right? The north bridge, what does it do? The north bridge controls the high-speed communications. That is the communications between the CPU and the RAM and the expansion slots, and all communications of the CPU, RAM, expansion slots, and specifically this expansion slot. This one is the PCI Express, not the PCI. The north bridge doesn't control PCI. The north bridge controls PCI Express, and it controls RAM, and it controls the CPU. It controls their communications. We learned that all the components communicate through lines, and they all communicate over bridges. And I told you about the AT motherboard, and I told you that the AT motherboard had several chips for controlling the communications of every component. And because the chips made the motherboard look so clumsy, they decided to create just two chips. The first one was designed for all the high-speed components, and we learned that the CPU and the RAM, they operate at super high speed. And so we have a bridge dedicated to just those three, 1, 2, 3, because the way they operate is extremely fast. Then we have another bridge for the rest. So all the other components all communicate over this bridge. So this is a south bridge, and this is what? The north bridge. Excellent. Don't forget that they will all come in your examination. If you miss any of the hardware classes, you are in trouble, because there's a lot you miss. All right, let's continue. And now I'm going to take you through what is called the ROM. We talked about RAM, right? We said RAM stands for what? Please come again. Random access memory. And the random access memory is a memory, right? And whenever you hear memory, what comes to mind? Storage, right? Okay, now in computers, listen to me. In computers, there are several storage components. Listen to me again. I said in computers, there are several storage components. The number one is the RAM. The RAM is called main memory or primary storage, right? Number 2 is this. This is called a secondary storage. The name of this is called what? Hard disk drive, or hard drive, or hard disk. These are secondary storage. Our third storage location is the ROM. What in the world is ROM? First of all, let's talk about what ROM stands for. ROM stands for what? Let me type it on the screen. ROM stands for what? Please, ROM stands for what? Do you see it on the screen? ROM stands for what? Read-only memory. Now let's take the first word. The first word is a compound word. The first word says what? Read-only. Read-only. What does it mean? Okay, just think about it in terms of English language, and just tell me. When you say read-only, what does it mean? If I give you an instruction, I tell you read-only, what does it mean? When I give you instruction, I say read only, what does it mean? As an instruction. What did you say? Just read. Okay, I give you a book and a pen. I give you a book and pen, oh. Then I tell you read only. What am I telling you? Excellent. I'm telling you to read, but don't write. Do you get it? In computer storage, we have 2 actions. One action is reading, and the second action is what? Writing. In computing and in computer storage, there are 2 actions that take place. One is reading, and the next one is what? Writing. Whenever there's a storage device, and we talk about reading the storage device, it means accessing the information on that storage device. That is reading. That's a term we use in IT. We use the term reading. Now, do you know that when I have a storage device like a pen drive, I can put something on my pen drive? Do you know that I can store something on my pen drive? Something that wasn't on my pen drive before. Can I store something new on my pen drive? Storing new information. The term used for storing new information is writing. Hello. The technical term used for storing new information on a storage device, the term is what? It's just like giving you a plain paper and a pen. If you want to put information on the paper, what do you do? If you want to access information on the paper, what do you do? No. If you want to access, you read. If you want to put information on the paper, what do? You write. Now, the book you are holding, the information is already on the paper, right? So you are not writing. What are you doing? You're only reading. So that's read only, right? Okay, but if I give you an exercise book, you can read and write. But the textbook, you can only what? Read. We have a memory that only does reading, or is only used for reading. We call it read-only memory. That read-only memory, in Ghana, only 5 people have seen it before. Only 5 people know what it is or have seen it before. Last year, Corona killed 3 of them. It's left with only 2. Only 2 people in Ghana can identify that particular storage device. When I tell you hard drive, it's easy. Can you recognize this? You can easily identify. When I say RAM, this is RAM. When I say pen drive, when I say external hard drive, you can recognize all of them. But when I say ROM, who here has seen the ROM before? No one. I know it's no one. Who can show me the ROM? Okay, none of you have ever seen the ROM before, and none of you can tell me what the ROM is, because the ROM is fixed onto the motherboard. The ROM is not separated from the motherboard. The ROM is part of the motherboard. And the ROM is a chip. The ROM is a what? It's a chip. Even though it's a memory or a storage device, it is only there for reading, only reading, not for writing. And I'll explain the difference between the reading and the writing again very soon. And I said the ROM is on the motherboard. So when you look onto the motherboard, there are several chips. Today I'm going to add you to the people in Ghana who have seen the ROM before. Right now, I say how many people know the ROM? Only 2 people. There used to be 5. What happened to the rest? Okay, this is a ROM chip. Have you seen this? Please, have you seen this? This is called a ROM chip. It is a storage device, but it cannot be removed. It is a permanent storage device fixed directly onto the motherboard and contains sensitive information that the user is not allowed to change. The user is not allowed to add to it. The user is only allowed to read what is on it. This particular chip, because you are not allowed to add your information, it is called a read-only memory. Do you understand the term read-only? It means only read. Now, this chip is one of the most important chips on the inside the computer system. This chip is one of the most important chips because without this chip, your computer cannot start. Have you ever turned on a computer before? Have you ever turned on your computer before? You can only turn on your computer because of the information in this chip. Now, the information here was placed there by the manufacturer of this computer or this motherboard. And so the ROM only has information stored by the manufacturer. The information in the ROM is not there for you to add yours to it. If you have your movie that you want to watch, you can't store it on this chip. Maybe you can use your pen drive for your movie. I know you like movies. But you can't put your movie on the ROM because the ROM contains critical information without which the computer cannot start at all. Some of the information on the ROM include startup instructions, how the computer should start. Those critical information are needed for the computer to start. Number 2, listen to me. The ROM chip contains a special program. When I say program, what do I mean by program? Anytime you hear program, what does it mean? Anytime you hear program, it means software, right? There is a special software stored here. That software, should I tell the name of the software? If only you promise, you will not forget. You will not forget. The name of the software is BIOS. 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 BIOS is a program, and that program is stored here. That program is so important and so powerful to the extent that this chip, sometimes it is not called a ROM. Sometimes people call it a BIOS chip. So sometimes you'll be learning about components of a computer and you see a chip called BIOS chip. Why is this chip called BIOS chip? It's because it is a chip that stores the BIOS. But the name of this chip is a ROM. That is a read-only memory. It stores the BIOS. I said the BIOS is a program, and it also stores startup instructions. First of all, the BIOS is a software that starts the computer. Wait a minute. For a computer to be used, you need something called operating system. The operating system is the master program that runs on your computer for you to be able to control your mouse and click and move around and browse. Please, are you here? Now, operating systems are very, very large, or the storage capacity of operating systems are large. So operating systems are usually stored on the hard drive. Now, when you own a computer, your computer does a lot of work before finally it starts the operating system from the hard drive. First of all, it will load the operating system from the hard drive to the memory before it will work. But before that happens, a lot of things happen before. Please, are you with me? Several things takes place before the operating system starts. If you remember, when you on your computer, first of all, sometimes you see a logo show on the computer first. Sometimes you see some writings. Please, are you here? Those writings, you are not a technical person, so you don't know how important they are. They are doing a lot of checks in the entire system. Checking your components, whether they are in good conditions. Checking the settings in the computer on how to start the computer. A lot of things takes place before the operating system is finally loaded. The operating system is what allows you to use a computer, but that is the last thing that starts before you can use a computer. And so there is a program here that is so important and small enough that it can fit on the ROM. That program is called BIOS. BIOS is the first program that operates your computer before the operating system starts. When you on your computer, it is the BIOS that does all the checks of all your hardware and make sure the computer is okay to start. When the BIOS checks everything and the computer is okay to start, then it will give control to the operating system. Then the operating system will take over and start. And so that program, without the BIOS, your computer cannot start. Please listen to me. Don't worry about the technical things it does. Just take it from me that without the BIOS, your computer cannot start. Do you want your computer to work? Your computer cannot work if you don't have a BIOS. Sometimes when you on your computer and your hard drive is not working, your computer will tell you, no bootable device found. Have you seen that thing before? Some of you have seen it. It is a BIOS communicating with you. The BIOS is the first program that starts before the operating system starts. That BIOS is sitting here in the ROM. And all the startup instructions are here in the ROM. Hello. So this is called the ROM chip or the ROM. Let me read a thing or two about the ROM, then we will continue. Okay, the BIOS chip is also known as a ROM chip or ROM BIOS. I'm talking about the ROM. I could have said the ROM is also known as BIOS chip or ROM BIOS or ROM chip. All right. It is a microchip. It is what? I didn't say chips. Have you eaten chips before? I'm not talking about chips that you can eat. It is a microchip that is used to permanently, did you hear permanently? Yes. Good. This is a keyword. Permanently store startup instructions, or what we call boot instructions or booting instructions. When a computer is starting, we call that process booting. Do you know that? So when we say startup, another word for startup is booting or boot. So startup instructions or boot instructions and other critical information. Other critical words. Other critical information. When I finish, I'll tell you why it says permanently. Listen, since it is read-only, information in the ROM cannot be changed or removed. and is fixed by the manufacturer. Basically, the ROM is where the BIOS firmware and its default settings are stored. The BIOS is a program, it's a firmware. Later you learn about firmware and other things. Today you are learning about software, hardware. Later you learn about firmware and malware and other things. Alright. Please, are you here? What you are learning is serious. So when you come here for your presentation, I want you to present like a professional. Someone who has gone to computer school. Someone who knows what she's talking about or he's talking about. When you take the motherboard, you should give your presentation in a way that when people see you presenting, they'll go like, wow, this lady is too much. I want you to talk about the ROM chip, talk about the CPU socket, talk about the RAM slot, talk about the north bridge, talk about the south bridge, talk about the 24-pin power connector, talk about the expansion slot, talk about the CMOS battery and everything. That's what I want you to do. Please, are you with me? So pay attention. Make sure you don't forget. So now we are talking about the ROM. ROM, we said ROM is read-only memory. Yes, please. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. Basic Input Output System. That's BIOS. Now, my question, ROM. What does ROM stand for? Read-only memory. What does RAM stand for? Okay, you see that they are different. Okay. Now, I told you that for storage devices, they read and write. But for ROM, you have been restricted from writing. You can't write. And so, all you do is to read. So, the information stored here, it is there permanently. As long as the computer exists, that information is still there. The user cannot go and delete it. The user cannot change it. Because that is what controls the startup or the booting of the computer. Without the information in the ROM, your computer cannot start up. It stores startup instructions and other critical information placed there by the manufacturer. And it stores that information permanently. Right now, the information is still there. If the information is removed, the computer cannot start. Now, as part of the startup instruction, we said there's a program. What's the name of the program on the ROM? The program is called BIOS. The BIOS is the first program that controls the startup of a computer until the operating system takes over. When you on your computer, it takes time before you see the Windows logo. When the Windows logo shows, it means operating system has taken over. But before that, a lot of things takes place before operating system takes over. It is a BIOS that controls the startup, and it has a lot of settings and instructions. If you study a little bit about computer booting process, you will learn that, please listen to me, you will learn that the settings in the BIOS can be edited. Listen to me, don't be confused. The settings in the BIOS can be edited. So whenever you are starting a computer, sometimes they will write some instructions. Press F2 to enter setup. The setup they are talking about is a BIOS setup. Maybe you've never done it before, but when you see that and you press that F2, when the computer is starting, it will take you to your BIOS settings. And you see all the settings. Those settings in your BIOS setup can be changed. Now, because the ROM is read-only and cannot write and cannot store, the settings are stored somewhere else. Or the changes in the settings, for the computer to remember the changes that you made. The changes are made by you, right? those changes are stored somewhere else. That second location where the information is stored is called the CMOS chip, or the CMOS. CMOS. CMOS chip. The CMOS chip stores changes made in the BIOS. Listen to me. When it comes to computer storage or storage devices, please are you with me? Let me use these two as an example. This is volatile. This is non-volatile. Let me repeat. This is volatile. This is what? Non-volatile. This is what?
Volatile.
And this is what?
Non-volatile.
Now, when you say volatile, talking about computer storage device, it means it stores temporarily. And when you say non-volatile, it means it stores permanently. Some storage devices store temporarily and others store permanently. Let me talk about the volatile ones. The volatile ones, anytime you turn off the computer, they lose the information on them immediately because they need power to keep the information. Computer memory or storage are in different types. Like this particular one, if there is no power, it has no ability to store. It can't store. It only stores when there's power. That's why we call it volatile. So to explain the meaning of volatile means it stores data with electricity or with electrical charge or electrical power. Without electrical power, it cannot store. So right now that I'm holding this, if I ask you what kind of information is on this storage device right now, what will you tell me? Nothing. There's nothing on this. Absolutely nothing. There's absolutely what? Nothing. Let me talk about your pen drive. Who has a pen drive here? Please, are you with me?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question. Right now, as I'm holding this, do we have information on this?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Now. I've not plugged it into any computer. Now. Do we have information on it?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Don't you know what you have on it? Please, don't you know what you have on your pen drive?
Yeah, I know.
Whichever computer you connect it to, can you access your information?
Yes.
Of course you can. So my question is this volatile or non-volatile?
Non-volatile.
Non-volatile. Why is it non-volatile?
Because it's permanent.
It stores permanently. Okay? That is the explanation. Hard drives, are they volatile or non-volatile? They are non-volatile because they store permanently. Now. Even if this hard drive has not been connected to a computer for 10 years, do we still have the information on it?
Yes.
Yes, we still have the information on the drive, the hard drive. Are you getting me? So this is why we say some storage devices store permanently and some store temporarily. Like RAM, this is volatile. It doesn't store permanently. That is why when you are working on your computer, you have to save your work, because this stores when the computer is in use. When the computer is on, that is the only time it stores. And whenever you are working on your computer, whatever you are working on is stored here. If you don't save your work, you will lose it. That's why you have to save your work. When you save your work, guess what? Your work is stored here. Have you done saving before? Whenever you are saving, you save onto hard drive. Before saving, your work is here. After saving, it comes here. When it's here, it's permanent. If you have not saved, it is here. When the machine goes off, it's finished. Now listen to me. Please, are you here? When we were reading about the ROM, are you getting me? Did we talk about temporal or permanent?
Permanent.
So the ROM, is it volatile or non-volatile?
Non-volatile.
It's non-volatile. Do you get me?
Yes.
Good. But what I'm about to tell you is that the CMOS chip, only 4 people know about it. And Corona killed 3. It's left with 1 person. I'm the only one who knows where the CMOS chip is. Should I tell you?
Yes.
So do you want to know where the CMOS chip is?
Yes.
If you want me to know, tell me what the CMOS chip does. Then I'll tell you where to find the CMOS chip. Excellent. So changes made in the BIOS. I told you that when you are starting your computer, they allow you to make changes to your BIOS settings. Those changes you made, because the ROM is a read-only memory, you can't store the changes in ROM. If not, the ROM is no longer read-only. You cannot save in ROM. So when you make changes, the BIOS asks you, do you want to save your changes? You choose yes. Your changes will be kept on your machine. Whenever you are starting, it will follow the same instructions. You see, the more technical you become, the more you understand all the secret places in computers. When a computer is starting, it goes through a certain process. That process, you can alter it a little bit. And when you alter it, you can save it. Next time, when your computer is starting, it will follow your instructions based on the changes you made. Now, what we are saying is that the changes you made are not stored back onto the ROM, but are stored where? Stored where? Stored on the CMOS chip. Okay, so changes made in the BIOS settings are stored on the CMOS chip or in the CMOS chip. You get me? Now listen to me carefully. The CMOS chip is inside the south bridge. The CMOS chip is inside the where?
The south bridge.
Listen to me again. I said the CMOS chip is inside where?
The south bridge.
Do you remember that the south bridge and the north bridge are called chipsets?
Yes.
That means they are a set of chips, right? And number 2, I told you that in the past we had several chips and they have all been made into one chip. So inside the south bridge, the CMOS chip is within it. I get it here.
Yes.
What I'm going to tell you next is that the CMOS chip is volatile. When we say a storage device is volatile, what does it mean? The information stored on it is temporal, or it needs power to retain information. You understand? Because the CMOS chip, listen to me, because the CMOS chip needs power to retain its information, there is a battery that is provided, a battery. This battery looks like a watch battery, a very big battery. This battery here let me use my car keys to remove the battery. Have you seen this battery? This battery is a very important battery in your computer system. Do you know the name of this battery? Huh? It's very common. This is a very popular battery. What's the name of this battery? It's called the CMOS battery. Have you heard of the CMOS battery? This is a CMOS battery. This is a famous CMOS battery. Not CMON. CMOS. CMOS. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. Is it in your book? CMOS. Look for CMOS and read about CMOS battery. Do you see CMOS battery in your book? Read what is there for me. Let me see if I should add more. It's okay. I want to tell you right now that there's a difference between the BIOS chip and the CMOS chip. We want to be very, very technical and very accurate. Even though they all store BIOS information, when we say BIOS chip, we usually talk about the ROM. Right now we are saying CMOS chip. It is because of the CMOS chip, that is why this is called the CMOS battery. Are you getting me? Now, your RAM cannot store information when there is no electricity in your computer. Your CMOS cannot store or keep the information when there is no CMOS battery. And to experiment with this, when you make changes in the BIOS settings and your computer always starts following the instructions you gave, if you want to flash your instruction, just remove this for about 1 minute and put it back. When you remove this battery for about 1 minute, your changes will disappear. You can try it. When you put it back, it will not remember your information, because when you removed it, the data in the CMOS chip got lost. So if you want new settings, you have to do it again, or it will go back to the BIOS settings, the original settings. You see, we have the original settings and we have the changes you made. When you remove this battery, the changes you made will go away. Maybe you've been using your computer for 1 whole year and it's been following the changes you made. When you remove the CMOS battery, the changes you made will disappear and it will revert to the original settings or the instructions from the BIOS. That's why this is called CMOS battery. It has 2 functions. The first function is to power the CMOS chip. The second function is to power the system clock. Have you seen a watch before? Have you seen a watch before? You've seen a watch before. Do you have a watch? Okay. Do you have clocks in your room? Do you have clock in your room? Okay. Okay. Now your clock or your watch, what do they do for you? They give you time, right? Do you know computers have time?
Yes.
Okay, there is a clock in your computer. There is a what?
Clock.
We call it system clock. Like your watch. Do you know that there's battery in your watch?
Yes.
When you remove the battery, it looks like this. It is smaller than this, but it looks like this. Have you seen watch battery before?
Yes.
Exactly. The same thing is in your computer. Your computer has a system clock, and that system clock is powered by this CMOS battery. And it does that so that your computer will not forget the date and time. If you off your computer for 1 whole week and you on it again, the time will still be correct. The date will still be correct. The date will not be reset to the olden days. Let's say your time is wrong and you change the time. Now it's correct. Off your computer, on it again, your time will still be correct. Don't use your computer for 1 month and on it again, your time will still be correct. So why is it that there's no power in the computer, but the computer remembers the date and time? Your clock is still working, just like your watch. Because it is powered by the CMOS battery. Listen to me. After 3 years of using your computer, your CMOS battery is a 3 volts battery. If you look on it, you see 3 volts. It will lose its power. Well, I said 3 years, Usually 3 years. After some years, usually minimum of 3 years, your CMOS battery will lose its power. And when that happens, guess what? Anytime you set your clock, it will be wrong. The next time you on your machine, it will be wrong. All the time, the clock on your desktop is not correct. It's because the CMOS battery is what? Your CMOS battery, when it dies, your system clock will no longer work. Your changes made in BIOS will no longer work. And when you on your computer, your BIOS will tell you that the CMOS battery is dead. So replace it. It will tell you. Do you know that when you on your computer, there are some instructions,
Yes.
black and white? That's the BIOS working. So the BIOS will tell you that your CMOS battery is dead. So you have to go to a computer shop, any computer shop, and say you want to buy CMOS battery. So you buy it and you put it. Or if you have another computer, you can remove the CMOS battery and put it in. This is called CMOS battery. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. So on this motherboard, please, who can identify the CMOS battery? Have you seen it?
Yes.
Where is it? Is it this one? No. 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 This one? Where? Here? This one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You're right. So if you follow the arrows, CMOS battery. Alright, so these are CMOS battery. And they all look the same. They are all 3 volts. They have the same size. You can move one from one machine into the other. And let me read something small about the CMOS battery and we'll wrap up. Now, the function of the CMOS battery is to provide power for the CMOS chip. Please, did you see that?
Yes.
Provide power for the CMOS chip and the system what? And the system clock, which stores the correct date and time. That's the system clock. CMOS is an abbreviation that stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. That is CMOS. Next time you'll be asked, what is CMOS? What does CMOS stand for? That day you will not be reading. You have to say it from memory. CMOS, complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So that's a CMOS battery. So I think we've learned a lot. And next time we'll look at expansion slots and we'll try and finish the motherboard fast and move to other components. All right, so I want to thank you for joining this class. I believe it has been fun. I believe we've learned a lot. If you missed the previous lessons, kindly go through the videos on this channel and make sure you get all those videos. And we are yet to add more. We are not done with computer hardware. We'll be adding more lessons. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Make sure you like this video, put a comment under it. If you have any question, make sure you type the question in the comment box and I'll answer you. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Hit the subscribe button and don't miss any video we make. So thank you once again for joining us in this class and I will see you in the next video. Bye.